everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show. Anyway, we are near the holidays, and as most of us know, this really isn't a holiday about Jesus. This is more of a holiday about Satan. And the word Santa Claus basically has the words of Satan involved with just a mixture or a disorientation, if you will, of the spelling of the lettering. And as a result, as we come closer to this time of the year, a lot of you are getting depressed, sad, stressed out, anxiety, can't sleep, having all kinds of problems. And this is one of those times of the year where I'm not overly fond of at all. In fact, we have designed this holiday so that basically you're stressed out about spending, you're stressed out about getting the right gift, we're stressed out about packaging it properly, we're stressed out about being stressed out, we're stressed out about being with family, we're just, we're doing this for the kids and the kids aren't appreciative and we're stressed out about that, and then we're depressed because we didn't seem to get the right gift or nobody was really appreciative of what you've done, and then the meal and the whole traditional fiasco. And then I kept asking myself this question: why is it that we feel this way this time of year? This time of year, it seems like we are more apt to be sad than happy. We enjoy the family moments. Especially if we have a close family or we have a small family, we enjoy those moments. We enjoy those times of being together. We don't really need a gift. I mean, I'm old enough where I tell my mom, I don't need a gift. I'm good. What do I need? I got everything I need. I don't need any more. I don't need you to spend money, unnecessarily. Moms are that way. No matter you tell them no and it means yes. It's just, especially if they're Mediterranean moms. I think they're the worst ones. Mom, no. Yes. Yes. Point I'm trying to get here is nobody's really ever thought about why we feel the way we do at this time of year. You ever notice that? Now, I've been talking about nanobiology, nanoprogramming, frequencies, towers, targeted individuals, genetics, transgenetics, mutagenetics, and they're all tied together. They're all so tied together that everything that we're dealing with today has been a propagation and a planning that has been going on probably for over 5 or 6 decades, if not longer. And I'm going to talk about a genocide treaty. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this treaty is because I have a sneaky suspicion, call it a speculation, call it a hunch, call it just researching and connecting the dots, because I'm kind of good at that. But everybody who believes in God, irrespective of what your background is, whether you're Islamic, Judaic, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Catholic, Protestant, Native, whatever it may be, or whatever pattern or whatever ideology you may come from, you need to understand that genocide treaty, because that's about the only thing that's going to keep you from being genocided. And being aware of that treaty, and being aware of the implications of that treaty. And I'm going to talk about that as well, because I think we all need to know what's going on. But I want to deal with first, and that might depress some of you. What are you talking about? Genocide. Talk to the natives about genocide, especially in Canada. Come to Canada, and watch our natives get genocided. Not funny, really, but I mean, Canada has a history of genociding the natives. Everybody looks at the Second World War, and about the Hebrews that were genocided. I particularly don't believe that the numbers are accurate in what they're proclaiming. I personally think there were more Christians genocided than there were Hebrews, to be quite honest with you, and yet not a word was spoken about that. I find that somewhat amusing, that people who believed in Jesus got slaughtered, nothing was said at all. You hardly see it. And yet we see pictures of dead bodies laying on the road in Germany or Austria or Poland or wherever it may be. These were predominantly people that were Christian orientated, and yet not a word was said. I find that extremely, extremely odd. And yet, we pick one group of all those that were slaughtered and genocided, and we have made a spectacle of this group, pointing out how bad they were hard done by. And I'm not trying to diminish or demean anybody of that group, but they weren't the only ones, is my point. And yet nothing is there to substantiate or even reflect on the people that were slaughtered, that were of a different faith, but nothing was said. And I find that just a slight tad, not annoying, but perplexing. I'll try to keep it as un-Canadian as I can, because I can speak Canadian very strongly on what I think about that perspective. Anyhow, when we're looking at this concept of what goes on, and I'm going to read something in the Genocide Treaty, and then, because I've had people contact me that over a period of time, they go through some serious bouts of depression, and they can't figure out why. They take the right supplements, they do the right things, they're eating the right fats, and all of a sudden they see a little change, and all of a sudden they go, and the people that they're helping or dealing with goes right back to square zero. I'm going to read a couple things. I'm going to connect the dots for you. I want you to pay attention to this, because you're bound to have this happen to you as well. You got to be clear-headed when you get assaulted. I'm trying to show you how to defend yourself and how to, again, be aware of these type of things that can happen and do happen. And we think maybe we're a little crazy when we say, well, maybe I was, and you get caught in this whole dynamic about being afraid to express something that might be really going on. You know what I mean? It's really important that you get this. I'm trying to find the article here. Give me a second. I'm just looking here. I had it, and all of a sudden the thing moved on me, of course. Let me read this. Decide the changes in sentiment and the direct transmission of sound, HAARP, can affect the organisms of the masses by making them even more susceptible to diseases, which I've been saying for a long time, which account for the holes in heaven, turned physicist Adam Trombley. Using electromagnetic weapons can cause illnesses, hysteria, or passivity to social control. It is worth noting that the words of Martin Perzanowski from his article HAARP, The Light Side of the Force, on Polish radio, from a medical point of view, waves of low frequency very negative impact on living organisms, causing a raise in blood sugar, cholesterol, increased pressure, heart arrhythmia, and if used during the war, the dark side of the powers of HAARP is also clearly a negative impact on animal organisms, especially those that use to its warnings of Earth's magnetic field. That would be your birds migrating, your butterflies, your whales, dolphins, etc. This is similar to the words hottest quotes our compatriot co-founder of the Trilateral Commission and advisor Carter National Security, Brzezinski, have to earn to be chosen by David Rockefeller to create a commission. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, this is a specialist in the field and the problems of the battlefield says that precisely regulated by artificial induced electronic shock can lead to some oscillations that lead to a relatively high levels of energy in certain areas of the Earth. This method can expand the system, which seriously weaken the ability of the brain's huge population in selected regions of the extended period of time. Imagine that. They can fire a frequency on any part of the Earth, and as a result of firing the frequency at a precise point, can and will cause problems with people's brains in another region. Wow. Imagine that. It said it does not matter how, for some, it is deeply troubling thought, use of the environment to manipulate behavior for national advantages. The technology allows for it will probably develop over the next few decades, which we already have in place. I'm going to see if I can keep on, as I'm talking, try to find some other things that I saw here. I had it marked and it just took off on me. They talk about how some Americans that went to the Soviet Union wound up getting cancers as a result of the direct experimentation that was going on. When they initiated the HAARP frequencies on people. Now listen to this. I always thought that this plant has the ability to control minds. Have you heard about the Russian methods of mind control among prisoners? They want to set the frequency to force people to a certain behavior they call dementia or aggression, and I think that such a possibility is HAARP. The frequency modulation of affecting our mood. Now what if, I'm going to give you a what if. I want you to speculate. I want you to think. I want you to get beyond your comfort zone of watching the television. And when you watch The Twilight Zone, and you watch The Outer Limits, and you watch Fringe, and you watch Eureka, these are some of the sci-fi shows that were on the fringe that were actually showing you the level of warfare development capacity that is really available today in the world. And when we're looking at some of these frequencies that are going on, just think of this. The United States back in 1996 spent $37,200,000 for research in military technologies regarding HAARP frequencies. $37.2 million back in 1996. And then we're talking about deficit spending. Where the hell does all this money come from? Ever make you wonder on that? They have been doing this for quite some time. So now think for a minute. This is the time of the year, we're in winter months, no sun. Women lose about 34% of their melatonin during the winter months, so they right away go into an easier level of depression. Turn on a frequency, hit them with a cell phone, iPad, computer, portable phone, smart devices like a washer, dryer, anything that can transmit a frequency. Activate that and direct that at specific frequency ranges to cause health issues, mental issues, okay, devastating or debilitating problems that can arise as a result of frequency modulation. When we're looking at that kind of thing that can be happening, where it's not so far-fetched that they're hitting people in regard to this. Now I'm going to read something else here, if I can find it. They're trying to incorporate laws. Cheryl Welsh in January 1998 wrote a report, Mind Control, report violations of human rights in the United States, where he wrote, given the best sources, there's a serious threat in the electronic manipulation of the human mind. The possibility arose from the research that attempted to explain telepathy electromagnetically. Unfortunately, despite the fact that the researchers failed to discover that the mind can affect long-range electromagnetic radiation that they were looking for, they discovered that the electromagnetic radiation of long range may have an impact on the human mind. Given by Barbara Hollinger, she was a member of the Warfare and Sector of the Pentagon, seeing most of the estimated $6 million US annual budget to research mental or the like. Imagine that. Now, they're saying the results coming from the United States and Canada, Canada, that show that a combination of amplitude and frequency of the external electromagnetic radiation within the frequency of the brainwave capable of bypassing the external sensory mechanism of organisms, including humans, and indirect stimulation of neural structures of high level in the brain. The electronic stimulation is known to produce mental changes at a distance, including hallucinations and various sensory modalities, particularly auditory. In other words, they can get you to hear things. Okay, I remember I've been telling you that tinnitus didn't exist. It never did really exist. This is more or less validating what I'm saying. They've been targeting people with frequencies, and you start hearing the buzzing noises, or you might start hearing voices. Voice-to-skull technology. That's all coming from the brain. That's all where it's hitting is in the brain, and then it's reflected in the auditory part of the brain. We were at the appropriate frequencies of radiation caused dementia in animals. It was an extremely weak field, completely undetectable. Imagine that. They are now has the capacity of sending very minute frequencies that might not be able to be picked up, or if they are picked up, we may not be recognized and could cause dementia issues. Why are we having a rise in dementia issues? Okay, I have been attributing dementia and autism and Parkinson's to nano congestion in the brain, which I still stand on. If we remove those nanoparticulates from the brain, guess what? These electronic frequencies will have less access to the brain because there's nothing for them to access. The metallic material that's lodged in the brain, especially this carbon C60 that they're trying to get people to take, make people a superconductive antenna, allowing these frequencies to have a more forceful impact on the brain, not only on the brain, but on the neurons, on the spine, on the neural communication network in the body. Let me read this. Hess, in the early 30s, led the U.S. research on animals. He dished them to the brain minor electrical stimulus, causing fine needles to stimulate areas of the brain, causing a reaction in the appropriate parts of the body, allowing discovered zone of the brain responsible for different areas of the body. In other words, while initially they were using pins and needles to electrodes to stimulate brain activity. They knew if they stimulated a charge here or a charge there, they could cause a reaction in the body. So when we're looking at some of the things going on and some of the activities that you might be feeling, especially at certain times of the year, and that could be any time, because if they hit a frequency, let's say they hit California, they target California with a frequency, and all of a sudden it's being felt all the way down to Australia. Or let's say they're targeting Australia and they can feel it all the way to China. Or let's say they're targeting China, or the Chinese are targeting their own country, which they're probably doing. And all of a sudden they could feel that in Romania. Maybe they're targeting Romania. They can feel it over in Northern Africa. Get my point? These frequencies can go anywhere, and as a result of the planet's ley lines, I would imagine, the conduits are now allowing these things to transfer everywhere and across the planet. As a result, your brain can react, your biochemistry can react, and as a result, you can wind up feeling some kind of depression, an overwhelming emotion of sorrow, sadness. And you can determine this really easily. All you gotta do is ask yourself this question. Evaluate your life, however way you evaluate it, and then determine, because life isn't perfect, and life most of the time for most people is a pile of shit. End of story. But I think there's a reason for that as well, and I think that's to wake us up wake us out of this illusion that we're living in, or this delusion that we're living in. Anyway, ask yourself this question. Why am I feeling this emotional feeling? Excuse me. Why am I feeling this way? Or if you have any kind of thoughts that surface up all of a sudden, out of the blue, ask yourself again this question. Why did that pop up? I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about maybe my mortgage, or I was thinking maybe about making more money. I was thinking about opening a business. I was thinking about dating this gal over here, dating this guy. I'm old school. I'm still of the concept of God made Adam for Eve and not Steve, and Eve for Adam and not Adam. I'm still one of those kind of guys. You know, if you swing a different way, that's c'est la vie, to each their own on that one. But you know, this is the way I swing it. This is my show. This is how I'm going to call it. Anyway, but let's say you got all these different thoughts going on, and all of a sudden you're overwhelmed. I mean, overwhelmed, almost to a point of suicide. You know, you just feel so bad that you feel you've lost all hope, all anything. You just are completely overwhelmed with this sense of despair for no reason whatsoever. We all have problems in this life. It doesn't matter where you live, or how much money you got, how much money you don't have. We all go through times of, you know, we get desperate. We do feel a little desperation, but most of us have this in our head. Well, let's keep on plucking away until we make it better. We make it better, and we make it better. So, but all of a sudden now you have been overwhelmed. You have become so destabilized. In your head, you're feeling like there is absolutely no hope. It's all gone. You might even be hearing a voice saying, oh, what's the point to it all? What is the whole point to all of this? You know, it's just a waste of time. There's no end. I mean, all you have is death to face. Whatever the voice may be telling you. Then you have to examine, where the hell is that voice coming from? Why are we hearing voices in our head? How the hell did that get there? I'm pointing this out because a lot of you are feeling this shit right now. And as we get closer to the 25th, those frequencies are going to be off the chart. And I've always sensed and felt this almost forever. And I've always noticed that when it came around the 25th, this is when I've noticed that I've often felt, you know, like, ugh. You know, it's like there's almost this complacency of, you know, this is just so crappy, so dark, so desponding. And recognize that the Santa Claus thing is all about Satan, you know, Satan's claws, whatever, the devil. This is the devil's day. It ain't about Jesus. All this money everybody's spending, you know, oh, buy this and buy that. Oh, look at the sale we got, blah, blah, blah. Happy birthday. How many people have ever made a birthday cake for Jesus? I mean, after all, it's his birthday, right? Now, if you have a child or you have an adult or you have something like that, people make a cake, buy the child gifts. I mean, how many have made any kind of offering to Jesus or a birthday cake or anything like this? Hey, happy birthday, Jesus. How many have done this? Or are you too busy running to the mall, running up a credit card for junk and shit that people are not going to use that you're buying for in order to fulfill some kind of compliancy to this system? You know, I'm just throwing this question out there. How many people say, hey, it's Jesus' birthday. We should be celebrating for Jesus. He, you know, after all, he did die for us, didn't he? And he came back from the dead and he opened the doors to heaven so we can go home. So why aren't we saying, hey, happy birthday, Jesus? Just my thinking. Anyway, I could be wrong, but hey, that's how I see it. You know, when we get together and it's somebody's birthday, we honor that person. Happy birthday, so-and-so. Hey, here's a gift. Here's a card. We appreciate you're alive and a part of us. Well, how many people do that if this is Jesus' birthday? How come we don't do that? Happy birthday, Jesus. Hey, we are so grateful for what you've done for us. The gratitude we cannot ever express about your sacrifice. I mean, do we ever say that? Just my 2 cents on this one. Do you ever say, hey, Jesus, we are so glad. We're bummed out that you had to go through what you went through, but we're so glad that you opened the door for us. Just my thinking. Anyway, but like I said, because we're compliant to this matrix mentality and the frequencies here are so heavy, it almost takes away the will to live. But now, let me read something to you. Gordon Thomas, a journalist, writer, and producer of the BBC in the book Journey into Madness. He must be living on planet Earth. The true story of secret CIA mind control and medical abuse. So as Dr. Delgado, Yale University neurosurgeon, Dr. Heath of Tulane University came to the conclusion that the ESP can control memory, impulses, pay attention, feelings, oh what a feeling, feelings, nothing more than feelings, and can cause hallucinations as well as fear and pleasure. It could literally manipulate the human will at will. Wow. Could it possibly be that you're feeling this? I told a story all the time. And I got hit with the nano poisoning. I heard the voices pop in my head. Oh, you can't win. You can't. It's an exercise in futility. It's pointless. You can't. I mean, you don't have a hope. You don't have a chance. This is what I heard. I had a hardcore upbringing, and I think also when I was going through it at the time, I used to get mad as hell at God. I said, God, really again? I'm getting my ass pounded here, But now I look back and think that was my boot camp to get me ready for the challenges of this existence. Anyway, my response was, if I'm going to go, you're coming with me. I am going to escort your ass to the Almighty. And you can stand before the throne and get your ass pounded. That was my response. That's how I roll. That's the way it is. That's how I talked. That's how I talked in my head even. I've always had to rise above challenges in my life. I grew up in like I said, in an environment where I was a minority within the minority. One of those situations. But you know what? I made a lot of friends and learned how to be adaptable. That's one of the things that made me learn to do. I never had any problems in being a minority in a minority, believe it or not. It was interesting. And all the things I heard say about the colored race, there was some truth to some of it. Most of it was embellished. Most of it was exaggerated. I mean, you can't keep beating on a people and not expect them to fight back. It just doesn't happen. And again, they were part of that experiment. They were part of the experiment. Can you imagine that? A frequency that can cause control the memory. And I've said this before too. You got 3 parts of the brain where this seems to hit: right, left, and center. The right side of the brain is where you're going to get the memory can be pulled out of any part of your brain. Any place that you've been traumatized usually seems to come out of the right side. And so let's say you got into an argument, a fight, you lost some esteem, you felt whatever, you felt, and all of a sudden these memories are coming out, accessed by this damn tech. I'm a pretty happy camper about all this technology. You have no idea. And it pulls out these memories to try to cause intimidation and terror. You have to recognize this is what they're doing. They hit the left side of the brain, and you feel the the pleasurable sides, the seductions and the sensualities and the desires and the, the entertainment, the music, the visuals that you saw, audios and movies and things of this nature, the pleasantries of this existence, this matrix. And then you get the third part, which is the frontal lobe, where you see things that are familiar, very familiar to you, and all of a sudden get warped, get miffed up, changed, altered, contorted. This is to cause you a feeling of confusion and chaos. This technology, if you've been a targeted individual, or if the nano bio poisoning and programming has been activated in you, you're going to hear these things, and you're going to feel these things, and you're going to sense these things. Those of you who have not had the activation process yet, it's coming. Something to look forward to. Oh, the fun you're going to have. You are going to have the same thing on a different level. Impulses are going to surge up. Impulses can be anything. It could be you call it flight or fright. It can be reactionary. Let's say somebody says something and you react without really hearing what the person's saying. It might react even violently or aggressively or agitatedly. Or you might react by feeling insulted or feeling violated in some way or another. Guy looks at a gal and says, boy, she looks really good. All of a sudden the gal's interpreting that, oh, the guy's undressing me. He's making a sexual advance. It's nothing to do with sex. Made a comment, you look good. But again, it's an impulse being hit with you through a frequency. Emotions and feelings, you're feeling sad and overwhelmed and you don't know why. Everything's good in your life. You got a good job, you're making good money, everything's rolling well, and you feel sad. You're having hallucinations. You're seeing the worst possible outcome in your life. You're seeing all kinds of whatever. Or you're seeing the best. You're visualizing. When people say, "Well, I'm not speaking anything negative. I'm going to speak nothing but positive. I'm going to speak positive." Yes. No, those aren't chemtrails in the sky. Those are lines in the sky. The real sky is there. I see the sky. It's beautiful. It's a sky and there's a line. Yes, there is a line, but there is not a chemtrail. That is something else. That is an anomaly of the heavens. Some bullshit like that. So, stand on the truth, because that's what all you have got really is the truth. You hang on to that, and this will pass. You'll see through all this. You'll cut through it like a hot knife through butter. When we're looking at these things here, and I'm showing you this, okay, what can be done with this and why you might be feeling these emotions. I'm not saying you're not going to feel bad at times. I mean, if something bad happens, of course you're going to feel bad. If something happy happens, you're going to feel happy. That's just normal. But when you got this overwhelming level and degree of this sensation and feeling, that you almost want to commit suicide, or you almost want to give up living, or you might just want, that is something else. Call it a demonic influence. Call it demons playing with your head, or call it a frequency assault on you. Amounts about the same thing, really. See, if you look at the biblical references, the Bible tells you whatever's edifying and fortifying and whatever's upbuilding, that's what we should be focusing on. But when we get to a point where we're just so overwhelmed with whatever, that we just give up and we just let it go, and we're just feeling whatever we're feeling. Like I said, we all have our internal challenges. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're living, where your stand is. We're all going to have whatever we're going to have. And sometimes we feel the things that we feel, or sense the things we sense. It's because we do need to make proper changes in the way we're behaving, or the way we're conducting ourselves, or in the way we're leading our lives, because where we're going with the life is going to either end in total mediocrity, where you will feel that the whole time here was a waste of time, or was again a futile exercise of futility, exercise in futility. Or you're going to feel at the end that you've actually had a fulfillment in life, and being positive is great. Being realistic is also great, because when you're realistic, you have a true sense of analyzing where you're really at. You're not overstating something, and you're not understating something. If you're good at something, you're good at it. If you're not good at it, you're not good at it. That's simple. It's not about your esteem or your ego. It's just a fact that if you're not good at something, you're going to work at becoming better at it, because you acknowledge that you're not good at something. When I'm not good at something, I do one of two things. Either say, okay, that's not meant for me, or you know what, I really want to do that. I'm going to work at it until I do get good at it. Those are your options. So, and again, it's a very simplistic perspective, but it seems to work the best, or at least it works for me anyway. Now, I'm talking about all this here, about the mind control. Now, I'm going to jump into the Genocide Treaty. Okay? So I want you to pay attention to the Genocide Treaty. Now, I got different parts of it here, and I'm going to read several different parts, so bear with me. Now, according to the Genocide Treaty, genocide is killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm. Again, causing serious bodily or mental harm. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Now, that is one aspect from the Genocide Convention. Now I'm going to read to you the elements of crime from the Genocide Convention. I'm going to just read a portion of this. The popular understanding of what constitutes genocide lends to the broader than the content of the norm under the international law. Article 2 in the Genocide Convention contains a narrow definition of the crime of genocide, which includes two main elements. A mental element, the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. Okay? Let me read this again. So whoever is causing the problems to occur with this frequency experimentation, and that would be the military-industrial complex, or per se a government initiating or allowing these experiments to go on, would be a violation of the Genocide Convention, because they are creating a genocidal effect on national, that's everybody in the country, ethnical, people of ethnic background, racial, those people who come from different countries and maybe have a slight variation in their color or their culture, religious, that could be Catholic, Protestant, Christian, Islamic, Hindu, Buddhist, Judaic, Native, Baha'i, and a whole variety of other different beliefs or ideologies. Now, isn't that interesting what this is covering? And how we are being violated in this fashion. People have died under this experimentation. I've known one that has died for sure. Okay, a physical element which includes the following 5 acts enumerated exhaustively: killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. This nano biopoisoning covers both grounds, bodily and mental. If you're a target individual, again, this is under the Genocide Convention. You are being violated on a bodily and mental. Okay, This information will be in the pod down in the where I usually put the links in. I will highlight it. I will post this thing there. You can further do your research on this, and this is a possible way of coming after whoever's doing this. Now, this same application here can be used on vaccines. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated or to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Vaccinations cause side effects, incalculable side effects. They violate the genetic code. Okay, they turn off the GCMAF proteins that are there to protect our bodies, who can protect us from 70 or more assaults on our immune system. But that was wiped out with the nuclease enzyme that they injected into the body, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. It causes a lot of damage if the child winds up autistic. Family members now have to deal with an autistic child that otherwise they didn't have before the child got vaccinated. Imagine that. This is under the Genocide Convention, and it can be interpreted as such. Let me point this out, okay? Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. Isn't Bill Gates giving vaccinations out to certain communities in Africa that after 5 years are dead and extinct? Would he be under the violation of this act as well? Makes me wonder. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. How many of the natives in Canada were violated? Families were wiped out, and then all of a sudden the children were forced to leave the areas where they were and go live in institutions set up by the Canadian government and the American one. So we've got this here. Now the thing is, you got to be able to validate and prove that this is going on. And because nobody is really communicating about the assault going on with nanobiopoisoning, and there's so much confusion out there. Oh, it's a ropeworm. Oh, it's black goo. It's this, it's that. Such bullshit is unbelievable. But they have done their job well at muddying the waters. And they've done their job well in covering up the fact that you can be violated with frequencies, causing all kinds of mental, physical, emotional, and even biochemical damage to the body. Okay, it causing both bodily and mental harm by these frequencies and by this nano operation that they have instigated. This is the reality that we're living in. This is what's going on, and this is how we're being violated. And I wanted to present this tonight because every year, this is the time of the year where the suicide rates are the highest. And it makes no sense that they should be this high at this time of year unless there's some energy or force or negative influence that is at its apex here, at its highest, that could cause this problem. And with the assistance of being targeted with frequencies and targeted with different types of assaults, through media or whatever, that all of a sudden now we have this influx of people dying without hope. Like I said, now, let's think about this for 1 minute. Just for 1 second. Okay? We are supposed to be celebrating the birth of Jesus because when Jesus came into the earth, that was the hope of mankind. He came into the world that the world might be saved through him. This is what we read in John 3:16 and John 3:17, that he came not to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Okay, so if this is the case, this is something that we should be rejoicing in very highly. Wow, our hope came, and we should be celebrating. We should be making a birthday cake and saying, "Happy birthday, Jesus. Yay, thanks for coming." Thanks for saving us. And thanks for what you did. Thanks for the sacrifice you gave us. Okay, we don't do that, do we? Yeah, you go to church and you sit in your pews and you do the tic-tac-toe and away you go and you come out and you're no further feeling fulfilled than you did before you went into the thing. So what's that saying? So when we're looking at the whole Satan clause kind of thing, that might explain it. And then the added exposure to all these other scientific wonders. That, I mean, think about it. It all connects. You're eating nano bio poisoning in the food supply. You have been since the 1960s, if not earlier. Start off with nanosilica and other nanoparticulates have been put into the food supply. You've been eating all this grain that's been saturated with all these smart dust, smart particles, smart sensors, nano silver, nanosilica. And after a period of time, when the body got to a certain point, a certain saturation, got activated by a frequency so that this crap could assemble in your body, turning you into a living antenna. And then come along and products were sold in the health food industry to further exasperate that capacity by selling hydrogen products which allow terahertz frequencies to further amplify inside the body, further causing mitochondrial damage, giving C60, which agglomerates in water, which then collects and can become a switch when a frequency runs through it, can get saturated into the brain, which then allows better connection, better conductivity, better transceiver. In other words, I can download more information to your head, making you more programmable, and I can upload what you're thinking or what you're feeling by just monitoring your brain's chemistry. Imagine that. These are the things they're selling in this industry, further complicating your DNA, your mitochondria, and your genetic code. Now, on top of that, you've got your cell phone, iPads, smart devices, towers that are constantly beaming frequencies all day long. Whether they are an AM and FM antenna, whether they're a radio frequency, whether they're on a gigahertz bandwidth, whether they're 4G, 5G, 3G, whatever, Wi-Fi, Li-Fi, constantly being barraged with frequencies which are constantly barraging your brain, barraging your capacity to think, pulling up memories, modifying your memories, altering your memories, making you feel certain things, making you reactive to certain responses, all through a transmission of frequencies with the amplification of these things becoming even more accessible to you because of the nano overload going on in the body. And when we consume the glyphosates in the system, which have further expelled out of the body the minerals and the bacteria that are required to keep our bodies at their optimal, producing the proper enzymes, proper antioxidants, proper immune system strength that we need. Those components have been removed from the body and in its place have been replaced with nanotechnology, nanobiotechnology. This is what they've done. And you are being assaulted. Now, this is the time of the year. Oh, the time of the year. You should be rejoicing. Now, other people of other faiths that don't necessarily celebrate the birth of Jesus, which is fine, they do normally appreciate the Christmas time for the same reasons most of us do, for family gatherings and connections and time off work and the capacity to hopefully relax and enjoy. But what happens with them is the same thing. They get into this overwhelming level of depression, allow them to drink a lot of alcohol, allow them to take some drugs, allow them put themselves in a state of sleep or using pharmaceutical drugs to put themselves in because they're taking antidepressants or they're taking things to depress them so they can sleep. This is what's going on. And I'm pointing this out so that when things happen like this, you have some kind of an explanation of what's going on. some kind of an explanation of, just they have targeted you. Or they may have fired a frequency in some other part of the planet that's affecting your environment where you are, causing these reactions to occur in your body. There's been so much information that's come out on, for instance, the space fence and the different expansion of the frequencies and satellites. We're putting up 42,000 satellites up into space. Wow. China's building its own solar emitter or solar sun that they're going to build and put up in the sky. I was thinking about that the other day. Somebody sent me another link. Let's see if I can find it real fast. And it made me think of the Blue Beam Project on steroids. This may sound a little weird, but anyway, give me a second here. They were showing how, and I got it on here, they're showing how they are turning the Earth into a television monitor. And how they're able now to transmit frequencies and signals across the sky, and to be able to turn your environment into a hologram or holographic universe, where you can sit there and feel like you're a butterfly, or you have butterflies all around you, and you would not be able to tell them apart because of the virtual reality will be so real and so solid that if something killed you in that virtual reality, you would be dead. There was something that sci-fi movie came out with, Dust, where this girl was wearing this virtual reality thing, and she thought she was having a party, and she met a guy, and she was having sex with a guy, and it turned out that the AI was basically killing her through sex. By the time the AI got done with her, she was hemorrhaging because of the overstimulation that the machine did to the person, and she eventually died as a loss of blood. The AI had isolated her, got her in that virtual realm, and killed her. Now, this reality, that was a sci-fi movie, but that reality, and I'm not saying you're going to die sexually or anything like that, that's how they promoted the sci-fi. But that reality can happen to you, or in this scenario. Now, they're putting up all these solar emitters up in the sky. There's over 300 of them last count that I found. Then I thought about that. What if those solar emitters are nothing more than stage lights? I used to go to a theater, and they would have a performance, and they would have these stage lights that would aim up at the stage so that you could see clearly the actors performing their play or whatever they were doing. Well, what if they're putting that up in the sky so that it's not just to create a weather modification pattern, which they can do as well, but what if they were set up to be a light for a stage, so that the world over could see what was going on? And what if they decided to change your environment? What we're calling the Mandela effect. I call it the AI effect. I never bought into the Mandela idea. To each their own on that one. But I often said the AI was altering our environment right under our noses, and we aren't even paying attention. And other people call it the Mandela effect. I don't think it's the Mandela effect. I think it's what is going on is the stage is being set, and things are shifting and changing to fill the criteria of that stage. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm also saying in this that they are going to create, imagine this. You're living in a village or town outside of wherever you're living. And all of a sudden you see a tornado coming down the road. Because they created a virtual reality where you're seeing a tornado coming at you. And leaving all kinds of devastation and damage that would be just unbearable to see. Forcing you to leave your area. But in reality, the virtual reality is what you saw, made you believe what you saw in this high amount of damage. But when they lifted the veil, everything was untouched. There was no damage. Everything was status quo. But they got you to leave the area. Imagine that. Imagine that concept. If they can do the things they're showing with frequencies in your head and in your mind, imagine what they can do with photons, Wi-Fi, blue beam, blue ray. Imagine that. This is where you have to understand how to stand on the truth. This is where it becomes really important that you associate with people that are like-minded, seeking the truth, and not getting tossed to and fro with what ifs. My personal perspective on things is this: if I can't substantiate it, if I can't validate it, then I don't know what I'm dealing with. We have all kinds of speculations, hypotheses, guesses, theories, ideals, but they all have to have some kind of substantiation today, more so than ever, because we're living in a world of great deception. And even the Bible says in the last days, even the elect might be deceived. That's a warning. That is a warning. That those of us who believing in Christ, and the truth about Jesus, and not some Christmas nonsense, might even get deceived because of what is coming down the pipe. That's why it's really important that you stay grounded in the truth. The truth has to be able to set you free, and the truth has to be substantiated. Okay, faith is the substance of things hoped for. That's what the Bible says. Substance. It is the substance of things hoped for. It has to have some kind of reality to it. Has to have some kind of foundation to it. It's not just pie in the sky. It's not some whoopie-doopie universal consciousness, alien ascension, demonically interdimension, whatever. It has not some woo-woo stuff. Sometimes woo-woo does work. Sometimes there is a woo-woo to it. But even that has something to substantiate it. God creates a miracle, we can see the effect of it. That's the substantiation of the miracle. If we just say, well, God may do this and God may do that, yeah, God may or may not. But when it's done, we can validate, oh, look what happened. That's substantiation. When you're getting hit with these frequencies, some of you now are probably freaking out. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Oh, man, what are we going to do? Discharge your body. What I mean by discharge your body, you're loading your body up with these frequencies that can actually augment and build up in your system. Step on we're showing you this in one of the videos, take a piece of aluminum or copper plate, put it on the floor, step on it bare feet. That'll discharge any buildup or any activation that might be going on. You'll be like a capacitor going zing. Wear grounding straps when you're going to bed. Secure your rooms where you sleep. Build the fans. Put a Faraday cage. Create a frequency blocking capacity. Defend yourself, especially in your sleep. Start using saturated fat to protect the cells. Start using things with a vitamin E content to them, other than make sure it's a non-soy, non-flax source of vitamin E. Because these things are usually, flaxseed comes from omega-3 source, which is highly oxidized. So you don't even know if the vitamin E you're getting from that source is even viable. And the other one's coming from a soy source, which may have glyphosate contamination in it. They can't filter that out. Or some other nano. So again, try to find as clean as you can get vitamin E product. If you can't get that, try to use certain oils like almond oil and olive oil. Make sure the olive oil, again, is not counterfeit. It's got, like I said, you really got to be able to substantiate what you're doing today, because you're going to hear a lot of bullshit from all these gurus. They're already propagating things to cause what I call genocide or planeticide. And again, they're part of that genocide convention if you sit there and think about it. So anyway, Pay attention to what's going on around you. Create a more perfect union with everybody that you know that might be awake. Get together, make contact, start working on things. Protecting yourself. Growing an indoor vertical garden if you live in an apartment. Changing the way you're doing things. Recognize the matrix for what it is. Expose yourself only to the point where you need to be there. When you're done, you leave it. If you're having a cell phone, put them in those pouches that block the frequency or allow the frequency only to come in one way, so you're not constantly being violated mentally with a frequency trying to program you. Okay. It's important that you start thinking in these terms. The brain hack or the mind hack that is there, coming down the pipe, okay, is going to hit everybody. And the only ones that are not going to get affected by it are those who are going to be able to recognize it for what it is and walk away from it or turn your backs to it. Those who have, the Bible says, those who have eyes to see, let them see. Those who have ears to hear, let them hear. In other words, help each other to see and hear what's going on. And the rest, I always say, just give them their pill and let them go back to sleep. If someone doesn't want to leave the matrix, can't force them. And you can't convert nobody either. Tell people the truth, direct them to it, let them decide. It's all about free will. If I'm imposing my release in order to convert you or to force a conversion, okay, then it's no longer free will. I'm no longer allowing that person to have that choice. I'm manipulating them. That's what that is. That's what the true sense of it is. You can discuss your faith with anybody you want, and I encourage everybody to do so. I mean, if you got Jesus and you believe in Jesus, you've got nothing to be ashamed of. But if you're trying to force somebody to get saved because you want them to get saved, but that's fine and dandy what you want because that's your free will. But what they want also plays a more important role. If they choose freely, they'll walk the walk. If they're manipulated or forced into it, they'll be up and down, up and down. Eventually they'll fall away. Best thing you can do is tell them the truth, show them where to look, let them make up their own mind. That's it. That's it. All you're required to do is tell the truth. And I think the best advice I can give you. Be prepared. Understand that you are in a war. I've been saying that for quite some time. You are in a war. Okay. Bible says there's no discharge from the war. There ain't no out. You're in it. May as well fight it to win. The way I look at it. If I'm going to be in a war and I got drafted, well, then I'm going to do my best to win that war. I didn't ask for it, but here I am. All right. I'm always talking about, supporting people and giving people your support. And you got Brian396. He's got the nano assembly videos on the photo.google.com. He's also got a data site, nanopoisoning and nano assembly, nanobiotech at www.minds.com. Again, take a look at his stuff. You got Aramac. He's on the YouTube channel. He's another activist sharing the news on the YouTube network. You got me at the Augment and Foresight. I'm also on BitChute now. We've got what I'm doing is uploading a lot of videos to help you build and to defend yourself the best I can show you. To check out the BitChute, just type in www.bitchute.com/channel/independz. And if you didn't get it, don't worry about it. I will be posting this in the Podbean. And then I got the YouTube channel. Again, go look up Herbs Plus Beadworks. I'm there as well. So anyway, support those people that are doing it to it. Give them your help. Give them your assistance. We are fighting a war. So any information you can get that can help you in your endeavor to win it. I would encourage you to help the sources that are giving you the most that you can get to help you in that fight. Alrighty. Anyway, the holiday is coming. I don't wish people a Merry Christmas, but I do wish everybody a good holiday, a good time with your family. Like I said, I'm not a Christmas type of person. I'm one of those people that believe that every day is a day that God gave us. We live this day every day. So, I mean, if God didn't create the day, we wouldn't be here. That's how I see it. So anyhow, and that's just how I roll. So anyway, if you are going to enjoy the holiday times with your family, I wish you all the best enjoyment. And I will be posting another show probably later on in the week. So till then, your health. See you then. Take care.